Hello, Twitter world. It's yours truly here.
Hey, YouTube world. Welcome back to another episode of The Points of Articulation. I'm your host, Dave, and today I'm joined again by Officer Mike. Mike, how the hell you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be back. It seems like we had some pretty good feedback from the last episode, so hopefully we can keep this going.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we could do a little shorter episode, because not everybody could sit around for an hour, even though everybody's quarantined. But who am I to judge? Oh, man.
So how you doing today?
Well, you know, we use Skype and different programs to do this podcast, and I was talking to Mike before this all happened, and I told him I was upset. And what happened was I tried to get on my Skype account, and it told me I was blocked. It wouldn't let me log in or anything. It just told me to go to a website. So I said, okay, I gotta use Skype. So I log in the website, it takes me to a web page, and basically it's Microsoft, and they tell me I have to remake a new password because of unusual activity. So, you know, my mind starts racing. Was I hacked, or what happened? So I go onto my Microsoft account, I check everything, and they tell me to check my recent activity. So Mike, I checked my recent activity. Would you like to know what I found?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, well, my recent activity was I changed my password. That's it. there was nothing. No money spent, no phone calls made with Skype, no chats, no messages, nothing anywhere, not even with Xbox. It's completely blank. So, I like problem solved. I said, they could just block me whenever. So I contact their support team, and of course I talked to a man or woman called Jefferson. In today's world, you can never know. There's no photo.
Don't want to assume their gender.
Yeah, God forbid. So me and unisex Jefferson were talking about what happened, and I told him, you know, my account was blocked and this and that, and he goes, so let me get this straight. Your account was blocked. And I go, yes, my account was blocked. And we go back and forth, and basically, he sent me the error code that he was getting off his computer. And it said different things, and I believe I sent it to you, Mike. And right at the bottom it says, you know, somebody was doing repeated attempts to get in. But above that, it also said, you know, you could break the rules and that, this and that. And I asked the guy, I go, listen, I only did like 3 Skype sessions and chatted with 2 people, and both chats and voices, the calls, were the same exact people. It was either Doug or Tyler or you. So
Right.
I did nothing. I never shared photos, videos, anything like that. And this Jefferson person basically went, well, you know, this is our terms of conduct. Well, I had that right in front of me, Mike, and I went through this with a fine-tooth comb. And basically it's like, number 1, basically there's 10 different codes of conduct. One is don't do anything illegal. We didn't. Don't engage in any activity that exploits, harms, or threatens children. I don't see Michael Jackson around here, so we're okay with that. But now number 4. Now this is where the money shot is. Excuse that term. It says, don't publicly display or use the service to share inappropriate content or material. Now, of course, some sicko out there is sharing nudity or bestiality, pornography, or offensive language or whatever. As we all know, when I put this on YouTube, I bleep my language if it's something bad. But then I figured out why we were probably blocked. And by we, I mean me. It says here, criminal activity. And we did talk about criminal activity with O.J. Simpson. So we have come full circle, my friend.
Twitter world's after us.
Yeah. Not only did he allegedly probably kill his girlfriend/wife and that guy that shouldn't have even been there, but now he is coming after our channel. Oh, man. But, you know, it's stupid things like this that aggravate me. When you forget your password, you get locked out, stupid little glitches happen on your computer, your phone, little devices, and sometimes it's something so stupid and you're calm, but sometimes, you get so angry, and a lot of times I come home from work and I'm upset. As many people that watch my channel know, I deal with children with autism that are behavioral, and I get so mad sometimes because of what goes on at work. Sometimes I'll get punched and hit, whatever. It is what it is. I choose to do it. I enjoy it. Not getting hit. I mean, teaching the kids. That's the sour part of the Sour Patch Kid, if you want to use that term. But what I'm getting to is, some people, when they go home, they drink a beer, they crack open a Mike's Hard Lemonade, wine, watch a movie, relax, play video games. And one day I was feeling really upset, and my girlfriend said, have you ever tried ASMR? And I go, no. She goes, oh, I use it, it works, it calms me down. Now, Mike, have you ever heard of ASMR?
I've kind of heard of it, I think, but I'm not really familiar with what it is.
Oh, well, strap yourself in, because we're about to go into a weird place on YouTube.
All right.
So, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response is what ASMR is. It's an acronym. And I've only experienced this maybe a couple times in first grade and kindergarten. I never had it as an adult at all. And what this is if you were a kid and somebody comes in the room, or the teacher comes up to you and shows you how to write something, or does a sound in front of you, or somebody cuts your hair, you get this little tingly sensation from your top of the head to the back of your neck. Sometimes it goes down your spine, and it's like, I guess you get really excited, and that tingle makes you feel good. So a bunch of these women and men and stuff like that on YouTube capitalized on this. And basically, they'll do sound effects, mouth sounds. They'll talk to you with whispers or cut paper, play with bubble wrap and crap like that. Like, it is so odd and weird. But these people are making bank. We're talking millions of subscribers, millions of dollars going out. It blows my mind. And why I said it's a weird part of YouTube is not the fact that people are licking mic ears to get the licky sounds, or sucking lollipops, but you have two groups from my research. You have the people that enjoy ASMR and use it as a tool to help people relax. Now, those people usually, rip paper, tap their fingernails on wood, or do little things like try-on hauls and stuff like that and whisper into the mic. Normal stuff. One person that does this is a girl named ASMR Darlin. She's probably like the biggest AMSR person on the internet, and she's pretty good. I'll put links to all these people down below if you're interested in checking this out. So she's on one end of this ASMR spectrum. Now, if you want to go to the other side of the spectrum, this is where things start to get weird. Not only was it picked up by the adult industry, but you have people on YouTube that take this ability to make sounds and do crazy things, and if they're an attractive man or woman, they exploit how they look to basically bring people in, and then they just do some crazy stuff. One that comes to mind is Hungry Lips.
Hungry Lips?
Now,
okay.
Hungry Lips. Now, she doesn't show her face, but you see her lips. Now, originally, she did videos where she would eat stuff. So we're talking like Starbucks, candies, different types of fast food, Chinese, stuff like that. And basically, you would watch her eat and make noises while she looks all hot in like bikinis and stuff. I don't know. Like, I may be a chunky guy, but I don't think a hot girl eating noodles and slurping them up does anything for me at all. I don't get it. I just don't get it. But anywho, the girl herself is really attractive. So then she starts deviating from that. And she got this thing called a 3DIO or something like that. And it's a mic with 2 rubber ears on it. So what that is supposed to do is if you have a headset on and she goes to the left ear or right ear, that's what you hear. So it's a ASMR tool, and basically, unlike some people that, just tap it or whisper into it, she goes up to this thing, and she's not alone, by the way. A lot of AMSR people do this. She puts her tongue in this bad boy, and I'll tell you what, she's pretty good with that rubber ear. I'll tell you that, Mike.
I'm looking at one of these videos now because you piqued my interest a little bit here.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it's you sit there and you watch this for research reasons, and you're just sitting there going, what am I doing with my life? This is what the quarantine has led me to. The coronavirus was made so I would find these interesting people on YouTube. But besides her licking this thing, then she would be like, oh, do you like when I do mouth sounds? So a normal AMSRist with a mouth sound would do like smacking her lips, moving her tongue, or, like teeth noises, stuff like that, weird clicks and whatnot. Or these sound effects that are like, or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, this girl, she doesn't follow none of that crap. She's like, you want to hear mouse sounds? And she's like, and I was just like, whoa, that's a moan, bro. But, it's just so weird. But anyway, I just wanted to touch upon that. I wanted to talk about this stuff for a while. It's just really weird. But the fact is, some of it does work. Especially when people whisper, something that's very common. And for me personally, to hear people tell a story or something in a calm voice, it's really relaxing to me. I don't know if you feel the same way. It's like hearing a bedtime story. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this leads me to me discovering on YouTube this guy called Joe Pera. And he did a video for Adult Swim, which is on Cartoon Network. And the video was called Joe Pera Talks You to Sleep. And it is, for all intents and purposes, a cartoon version of ASMR. It's this guy just talking to you, really calm, telling you, things are going to be okay, relax. And then he goes off and starts talking about crazy things. And it's funny. It really is. And I was interested. I said, where the hell did this guy come from? So, of course, if I'm watching Rick and Morty or King of the Hill or something like that on Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, I'll see commercials for Joe Pera. And I said, I gotta check this out. So one day, I was home from work, and I decided I was going to watch Joe Pera Talks with You. At the time, on Adult Swim On Demand, for Optimum anyway, they only had about half of Season 2, and about maybe 4 or 5 episodes from Season 1 maximum. The episodes are 13 minutes each. I guess it's like watching old Nicktoons or SpongeBob, where each episode is 13 minutes, give or take. So you put them together in 30 minutes and you have one whole episode. I think that's how it actually works. I never watched them live. Have you, Mike?
I have. That's actually, I remember you and I both kind of thought of this at the same time. I remember you bringing this show up to me, I don't know, a few months ago or something. And I remember saying, oh, wait a minute. I think I fell asleep with Adult Swim on one night and waking up and seeing this and just being like kind of captivated and like stuck watching this show because I was like, what is this? It was tough to get a read on it at first.
Yeah, it is a very bizarre show. And for those who don't know, Joe Parra is a comedian born in America in New York. And he's been active out there since 2009. He does a lot of stand-up and now television. He's been on a lot of shows, and he knows people that are with people that are famous, like Saturday Night Live and all that stuff. So it's interesting because he's not widely known, but his show has given him a lot of popularity. And what I really like about his form of comedy is that, I guess you could call it his shtick, is that he is only like 30-something, but his demeanor and his actions are like that of an old man, if that makes sense. Would you agree, Mike?
Yeah, Yeah, the character that he plays is just hilarious. I don't know how else to explain. I mean, I think the way you explained it is probably the best way. Like he's this 30-year-old guy who's trapped in, or this old guy who's trapped in his 30-year-old body or something. It's great.
It's like, you know how if anybody out there is a fan of Seinfeld, everybody joked around saying it's a show about nothing. This show is literally a show about nothing. It's every mundane task of normal life you could think of. And this guy finds a way to make a 13-minute episode on blank.
Yeah.
For example, one of my favorite episodes, and we'll get to what our favorite episodes are in a bit, but just for this, one of my favorite episodes are when he goes to a diner for breakfast, and he doesn't know what he wants, but he goes to every single person that he knows at the diner, and he goes, "Oh, what are you guys getting?" And then it's just a show about people telling him what they want and are eating for breakfast. And then it goes to one guy. It's the father of the neighbor that moved in next door. And he's like, "Oh, you got to get the breakfast perfect bite," or something like that. And it's like, he's got to get the toast. No, I think he says muffin, or I forget. But he's like, "Oh, you got to get the bread. And then you load it up with the egg, the jelly, the butter." And it's like he puts the egg yolk on the bread. And the goal is to get all of this in your mouth without breaking the yolk and having it run all over. And this guy is like a nutcase. He's similar to like a stereotypical person on like steroids or something where they snap real easy. And he takes the the perfect bite, puts it in his mouth, and he's like, "Oh," and he bites it and the yolk spills on him. And he's like, "Damn it," you know?
Yeah, that guy's character is pretty funny in that whole show too. He's got like this super toxic relationship with his family.
I think he tries to make the perfect bite twice.
Yeah.
And I think he fails the second time too. And he's like slamming the table with his fist. It's so weird. I think if I had to relate it to anything that's current, it would have to be like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
I think that's...
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good comparison.
Yeah. And what I really like about the show is that it's not just a show about nothing. When you sit down and pay attention to it, yes, it's slow-paced, and yes, it's kind of weird, but Joe Pera, who makes it, basically, and I think he produces it and writes it and everything, you could tell he cares about his work because there's a lot of heart into it. There's a lot of attention to detail, and it works. It's like if you took Mr. Rogers, watered him down, made it your next door neighbor, and just filmed your neighbor for a week. Like, that's...
Yeah, and I've watched a couple of these episodes, like, multiple times just to... re-listen to some of the things that maybe you missed, because it's not like it's not really like in your face with the comedy. So some of the stuff you get, it's a little subtle.
Yeah, I would have to go out on a limb and say it's designed for intelligent people that like dry comedy. I think that's it. Like,
yeah, it's definitely a different style of comedy. Yeah,
it's weird. And I don't mean if you're not smart you won't like it. I just mean the jokes that are in it, some of them are watered down cerebral, so you got to think about what he said, but it's very interesting. And I want to talk a little bit about Joe Pera's life in the show. He does have a dog named Gus. He lives in Michigan, so there's a lot of shots of the river or the lake, the Great Lakes, I believe.
Yeah.
He's an outdoorsman. He lives and basically helps his grandmother out and this and that. It's very interesting. Actually, I think he lives by himself, and his Nana lives in another house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for his job, he's a chorus teacher, so he teaches everybody how to sing and do stuff like that, and he's just so, like, he seems so boring. So to imagine him playing the piano and telling all the kids how to sing. It's kind of funny to me. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, he even does have a girlfriend. And I'll tell you what, out of all the characters, besides his best friend, which we'll get to, his girlfriend's name is Sarah Connor. And she's totally ripped from Terminator because she's into conspiracy theories. She's always reading up on stuff. She has ex-boyfriends that are military that she keeps in contact with just to get information.
Yeah.
She's scared of the future. And basically she fortified her basement for, like, doomsday prepping. So the fact that her name's Sarah Connor is totally taken right from Terminator. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
His best friend is like this older black gentleman called Gene. And we follow Gene and his family for a couple of episodes. We see his sons and stuff like that. So it's not just about Joe Pera, but you do get to see expansions off of how his friends are and why, Joe is an integral part of the community. And that's where the heart comes in, because when there's a problem, either Joe Pera is speaking the logical mind part and saying why people should get along and work together, or somebody's helping him out. And that's what I really like, because a lot of shows aren't like that anymore. It's a lot of like it is outside the door right now, where it's dog eat dog. The 1950s mentality of, your neighbor's your friend and will do anything for you. It's kind of lost in today's world, in my opinion anyway. But then again, I live in New Jersey. But moving on, Joe Pera is socially awkward. And, to cap it off, it is a show about nothing and yet everything at the same time. And that's basically everything I have from my little notes that I took. I personally love the show. I think it is hysterical. Just the little stupid quirks the guy has and his adventures. It just cracks me up. It really does.
Yeah. I there's very few episodes that I've watched of it, because I've watched both seasons, and like I said, a couple of those episodes multiple times. And there's very few episodes that I'm like, I don't really want to watch this.
Yeah.
It's just so much gold in each one.
It is true. Some of them are very dry. I would say that there's a handful that, for some reason, they just interest the hell out of me. And I could just put them on anytime. And they're so short. It's like, oh, this is funny. But I guess we could go through our favorite episodes here. Most of my episodes are... Actually, it's about half and half. Maybe 2 from the second season, 2 from the first, give or take.
Yeah.
My first favorite episode is What People Like for Breakfast, which we discussed already. My second favorite is The Fall Drive. Now, in this episode, Joe Pera is sitting on the front of his house with his good friend Gene, his wife, and his grandma. And Joe Pera and his grandma are dressed up as the twins from The Matrix Reloaded. And they're talking about jack-o'-lanterns. And it comes out that every time you cut a jack-o'-lantern, 1/16 of your soul goes into the pumpkin. So Joe Pera, hearing this from Gene, freaks out. And he figured out that the only way he can get his soul back, besides going on a carnival cruise, is to take a long drive. So he gets into his old person car that was given to him by his grandfather. He gets some food that he never used to eat in the car, but now he does. And he puts the pumpkin in the back center seat with a seatbelt. And we just go with him on a journey. He stops at a fruit market, gets like an apple from like I guess we could call it a highway farm stand. And he just talks about the craziest stuff. And he's like, what I want to know is, why do jack-o'-lanterns scare the hell out of me? And then he's like staring at the pumpkin in his mirror the whole time. And the whole reason for this, besides the soul, is that he feels so bad for the pumpkin because he has to get rid of it. So he buries it, if you want to put it that way, like he would want to be buried since it's part of him. And he just ends up taking it to some waterfall, and he dumps it at the, I guess, the shoreline of this little river. And the pumpkin goes down this giant waterfall with this tea-colored water. And I'll never forget, my dad walked into the living room when I had this on, and he goes, "What is this?" And you just see the pumpkin floating, and then it goes down the waterfall, and he was all like, "Why? I don't know. I don't get it. This is stupid." And it made me laugh even harder, because to understand the episode, you gotta watch it from like the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. And my all-time favorite would be the grocery store. He goes in, and it is perfect. If I can find the episode, I will put a link to it in the description below. He goes into this grocery store with a list, and he only has a check that's pre-signed for, I think, like $79 or something like that. Which in today's world, if you go to the... yeah, if my mom and dad will go to ShopRite, and they have like half a cart, and the thing's like $300.
Yeah.
So it's like, for $79, what the hell is he buying? But, but he goes...
Well, he sticks to the process.
Yeah, well, that is like the perfect thing, what you just said, because he, instead of just following him, he explains to the viewers that he has a process, that he goes up to an item and he picks up like bananas, and he's like, yes, yes, yes. And then he puts the bananas in his cart and he goes, when I see an item at the store, I ask myself, do I want this? Will I eat it? And do I need this? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And if he answers no to any of those three, he doesn't buy it. And he picks, I think it's arugula. He goes up to arugula and he picks it up. And he goes, I'm always fascinated by the color of arugula, but I just end up throwing it out after 2 weeks because I never know what to do with it. And he picks it up and he's like, yes, no, no. And then he puts it back on the counter. and it's just funny. We go to the deli section, and like an ex-convict that works there gets him to buy this like great ham, and he explains that he has like $60-something set aside for mandatory items, and it's always a good idea to give yourself a little money to treat yourself. And it's little things like that that are, you know, true. You always got to do something for you. And it's like you could use these little things he says in this episode in real life. And I think that's why I like it so much, because we could all relate to what he does in that show and trying to save money. And it's just interesting, because there's never been another show like it. And I might be wrong, but Joe Pera Takes You to the Grocery Store might be his #1 episode he ever did. Because it is perfect the way they filmed this thing and everything.
Yeah.
And then finally, I didn't really want to put this on my list, but I watched it the other day and it was hysterical. It's Joe Pera helps you pick the perfect Christmas tree. And he goes through all the different trees. And the one part that really stands out in my head is when he's like with this imaginary family around a tree. And he has like 2 kids. And the girl turns to him and says something like, well, you really know your trees? Like, yeah, I'm good with trees. And she goes, and you're good in the sack, too. Or something like that. And I just lost it because this guy is such a nerd. And it's like he gives the camera a smirk, like, yeah, I am. And then he wakes up and he's in his chair with his dog. And that's my top episodes. So what do you got, Mike?
So, I mean, I'm kind of a fan of the first episode. Like, I don't know if you want to call it the pilot.
Oh, with the iron?
Or whatever it is. Yeah, the iron. Just the fact that he's got his hands out the entire time, even though he puts the iron down. Because it starts out, it's like, I don't know, I think the whole show is kind of based on the idea or the premise that he's doing a public access TV show.
Yes,
so like all these episodes are supposed to be like a public access show. So he starts out and it's supposed to be him explaining the different iron and stuff like that because they're in Michigan. So I guess it's a hot commodity there.
Yeah.
And but it ends up that he has those neighbors that want to buy his house because some kids, I guess, thought it would be a good prank to put a for sale sign in front of his house. And like he spends the episode contemplating whether or not he has to actually abide by the for sale sign, or if maybe he could be sued for not sticking by the for sale sign. I don't know, just that back and forth that goes, and then the fact that he says that he can't afford another lawsuit this time in his life, and you end up wondering the whole time, like, what can this guy possibly be getting sued for? And at the very end, you get, oh, just for full disclosure, Gene's that old friend that he has that Dave was talking about before. Gene and I are suing each other to see if there's any disparity in the court systems based on color. It's just funny because it's like, obviously they have no reason to sue each other, but what were some of the other ones? Let me see.
And the funny thing about that episode you just said is, when he's sitting there with the rocks in his hand and the iron, they knock on his door, this family.
Yeah.
And they just walk right into his house, and he's standing there with the rocks. And they're, like, going through his house, checking out his bedroom and his kitchen. And they give him, like, a number, like a fake check with all these numbers on it as, like, their negotiating price for the house. And he's, like, walking around with that and the rocks, and he's like, oh, should I sell it?
Well, they walk in his bedroom too, and he's got a picture over his bed, so he's like standing there covering it while he's talking to them. It's just little things like that. It's like comedy gold.
Yeah, it's a funny show.
Oh man.
Yeah. The funny thing is, some people won't even find it a fraction as funny as we do.
Oh yeah.
And that's the real funny thing about it, because everybody's got different opinions, and the fact that this guy's doing this and his show is critically acclaimed, like it's a major success. The fact that with what he does and loves to do makes a lot of people like us happy. I think that guy could like go to bed at night and go, you know what, I'm a success.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you sent me a couple clips also of his regular stand-up. I think it was before he started doing this show.
Oh my God, yes!
But I remember the one from what was it, the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I'll find that and I'll put a link in the description below. That is a perfect stand-up to show you how dry he is.
Yeah.
And I think he does that skit in Patriots territory. And then he starts talking about the Jets or something, but I'm not going to ruin it. You guys will listen to it on your own. But that is great. There's one I sent you. I think he was on a Tonight Show or something like that.
Yeah.
And he goes up and he does his skit. And then like towards the end, he's like, oh, do you guys want to see my tree? Or my dog? And then he takes a photo. He opens it up. And he shows like the two people that said yeah, that are sitting together, and then he folds it back up and puts it in his pocket, and then continues with it, and everybody in the audience is going, how come we can't see?
They're like, what the heck is, like the same thing, like you said, your dad's reaction, like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
It's like the ongoing thing, like, you just can't look away. It's the same thing with the TV show. It's like, what is going on?
I mean, to me, physically, with the way he acts, he reminds me of a person me and Mike went to Scouts with, Adam. Like, yeah. I don't know, he just reminds me of that, like that nerd build, if you want to put it that way. Like you're hunched over a little bit, you got the glasses, the blonde hair. It looks like this guy's ripped straight out of Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Oh. But I thought it would be cool to spend this episode talking about Joe Pera. Like, originally, when I want to do podcast, I try and have like 3 ideas for the most part, and usually it's so hard to get what I want to say out. So I asked Mike if maybe we could just focus on what we talked about today and leave the other topics I picked out. Because if we start talking about this other thing I have, we're going to be here for another hour or so, and my computer probably can't handle rendering a video for another 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So you have any other favorite episodes, Mike?
Let me see. I had to pull up a list of the episodes here because I like that. That grocery store one that you're talking about, that's another good one that I like also.
Yeah, I gotta see if I could get links to all these and put them below. Because I think if you like the grocery store episode, I think you'll be hooked on the show, because that is a good, really good episode, and it really hooks you in.
Yeah.
But some of them could be a little boring, like Joe Pera gives you a piano lesson or something like that.
The internet videos one wasn't that great for me either.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a fan of the
that
internet
one's
video
kind
one.
of boring. It's just like if you filmed your neighbor. That's basically what it is. Like in that episode, Mike just said he is basically sleeping with his girlfriend and none of them could sleep. So they just start watching like YouTube videos, and that's the episode.
Yeah.
But I would say in the second season, there's like maybe 2 duds. I think like one that's really boring would be Joe Pera waits with you. But oddly enough, I really like that episode because I could relate to that. In the episode, he goes with his grandmother to her hair appointment. And even though he has a car and could just go home, he waits with his grandmother because that's what he used to do since he was little. And he talks to the old ladies and stuff like that, gets some M&Ms. And he's all talking about, being patient and that waiting is a part of life. And then he looks at the wall and there's a photo of different haircuts. And he starts going, oh, all these different haircuts. And then it's his face. Yeah. And the hair keeps changing. And all of a sudden, he turns into a Super Saiyan on one of them, and he starts screaming. And it was so
It's just
funny.
so unexpected.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, yeah, waiting with your grandmother, it could feel like an eternity. It's like that episode of Dragon Ball, when Goku goes in the hyperbolic time chamber, and then he goes through all the characters that went into the chamber, and then says how one day in our world is like 2 years in the chamber or something like that. I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z in a long time, but time is elongated in the chamber, and that's what he equates to waiting for his grandma for. That it's taken forever, and he just wants to get the hell out and take his grandma to a fish and chips dinner that they do every I think it's every Friday night. I haven't seen the episode in a while. But I know it's something like that. Like every week they go get a fried fish.
Yeah.
And interesting thing is when it starts, he goes, "Oh, when this is over, we're gonna go to the fish fry. My choices are," and then he goes through like the 2 different types of fish, and he goes, "Which one do you think I should pick?" And then he's quiet like Dora the Explorer, and he goes, "Awesome. I think that I'm gonna get that." And then you think the whole time he got the fish you picked, but at the end of the episode, it tells you what he picked with, like, text.
Yes.
Just stupid little things like that. But I just wanted to bring it to the attention to everybody, because I feel like, even though the show is really popular, a lot of people don't know about it. So I thought it would be cool to, tell all the fans out there that there's something interesting you might like. Again, it's on Adult Swim, and that's on Cartoon Network at nighttime. If you have, like, On Demand, it's also on there. And if you pay for that Hulu, I'm pretty sure it's on there. But when I tried to watch it, it told me I had to pay for, like, live TV or something to watch that. I'm not a Hulu person. I don't know what the hell that's about. But, yeah. But my sister pays for Hulu. I guess it's like an add-on. If you want, like...
Oh, it's not included in the,
Yeah, I guess you gotta pay extra to get that show. I don't get it.
Oh, yeah, I see it there. It says, watch with live TV.
Yeah, there we go. It's just weird.
But if you have, like you said, your cable provider, I think you can watch it either through On Demand on your TV itself, or streaming. You should be able to get it also, just by typing in your login information and everything.
Oh, yeah, and it might be on Adult Swim as well. So you can go check that out, and those episodes might be on there. But that's basically everything I have to say for today. How about you, Mike? Do you got anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
Yeah, well, geez.
Coming up on about 40 minutes now, yeah.
Yeah, we got to cut it. I think we did a great show today. We started with my anger, and then we talked about how some people deal with their anger with AMSR, and then that led us to the very funny Joe Pera. So I think everything kind of came full circle there, like OJ coming after my channel. So everybody, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Points of Articulation podcast, or I guess you could acronym that and call it POA, which is also, piece of ass. But anyhow, but anyway, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my channel. I greatly appreciate it, and if you'd like to see new videos with me and Mike, please smash that like button and let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate all of you taking the time to watch, and that's basically everything I have to say. Good night, YouTube world!